There he is, Dwayne, Bunney. How you going, champ?
Yeah, going well.
Oh,
Freddie
that's
J.
excellent, my friend. I can see you now. I can put the phone down and we can have a
This
little
is
yarn.
this is epic to be on with you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Been
It's my
too long.
privilege. It's been my privilege since our last show. It was a while ago now. It has been a while, but it's my privilege to be able to connect with you and do a dual live again. Um, It's been an exciting time for me. I think last time we saw each other was a couple of weeks ago at an amazing event called Freedom Fest. Is that correct? Yeah, that was the last time we saw each
I
other.
think in person,
Yes, yes. In
I've
person, we
seen
had
your
plenty of.
beautiful face online.
Thanks. I've been watching yours online, and actually, couple of your lives the other day inspired me to do this live. Um,
Mm.
inspired me. Inspired me to the point, got me thinking a lot actually about my past, my history, my education, the way I've been brought up, and the subject of how ancient wisdom is being taught in modern times. But yeah, and one thing we both experienced at this Freedom Fest was a lot of spiritual talk, um, and
Yeah.
a lot of mention of connecting with source and going back to and connecting with the divine source, and looking at ancient wisdom and how it fits in with our time, with our mental state, with the way we think. So yeah, what did you think of
Yeah.
Freedom Fest and the talk of spiritual information and how that was delivered?
Oh, you know me, mate. I'm not very much into woo-woo, but this really changed my view. I think this event was life-changing for me, in as much as I became a lot more aware of myself, what I needed to do within myself to improve. And as far as the spiritual aspects go, well, I do have a spiritual side to me. Um, as I said in my own lives, that I've studied the Bible all my life. But the trouble is, when people when people want to use principles from the Bible, say for instance, I just whipped out a Bible and wanted to throw a principle at you from there to use practically today, I'd be accused of being religious.
Mm.
But that's what I disagree with, because the Bible is not just a religious book. It's full of practical wisdom and
Oh.
practical principles that can help us in our day-to-day life, and the principles are timeless. And it was a perfect example when I read Napoleon Hill's book and other personal development books. They've taken these principles out and they just expand on them and put them
Mm.
into a secular setting. So that's okay then to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I think that's good. If people are getting those principles that way, fair enough.
It is good, and I find like I'm also an avid reader of the Bible. I've been raised that way. It's a textbook that I use to guide my life. I think it has a lot of amazing principles like yourself. I've studied other books as well. I think it's important to look at other belief systems, understand how they work, especially if you want to talk to people with different beliefs. You've got to understand a little bit of how they function, how they work, the principles based on their beliefs. And so I've studied other religions before. I've looked at a lot of ancient texts as well, Tao Te Ching, Tao. It's just a lot of other stuff, interesting concepts, and a lot of it I look at like modern day philosophers, or the latest people of inspiration, or they give wisdom. People like Jay Shetty, amazing guy. I've been watching him for quite some time now. He originated from the monk side. He lived his life as a monk as a young person. Super inspirational story. But he also encourages going back to the ancient wisdom, ancient texts and writings, and looking at those principles and how they fit into modern times. And a lot of his stuff is taken from those um, ancient writings. It's super interesting, and he just puts it in that modern twist, and that relates to people. They don't like you said. People think of religion and Bible and God, and they would turn away from it because obviously these kind of things have a lot to answer for. So people turn away from that. So these modern guys like Jay Shetty and Tony Robbins and Napoleon Hill, I've literally just picked up started listening to the audio version of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Amazing book. It's been in my field of vision for years. I've been the personal development side for probably 12, 13 years now. And that was one of the first things that I heard about Tony Robbins mention Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and and it's always come up through my life, but not until 2 days ago I picked it up and I thought, wow, this is profound wisdom. This is amazing stuff, and it reminded me of your lives actually when you did speak about these things. I've only done a couple of hours of it, and the principles that stood out to me was the principle of persisting in something that you value, something that you want to achieve. There was an example of a little girl there that her mum asked her to go and ask her uncle for, I think it was 50 cents or half a dollar, I think they called it back then. And the uncle was a real cranky type of character. And he says, no, you go away now. Like, I'm not going to give you 50 cents. You just go away and be on your merry way pretty much, in quite an aggressive way. And she sort of stood there staring at him. And she's like, no, my mother wants this 50 cents. And quite adamant in her demanding. And so the uncle sort of turned around, looked at her, and he started walking over to this little child. And this girl, a little bit terrified, obviously he's coming over to her. She knows he's a bit of a cranky toad. She stood her ground. And she demanded with a final voice, it's like, no, my mother needs this 50 cents. I need you to give it to me. And so it's like this guy had been browbeaten by this little child. He pulled out the 50 cents and he gave it to this child, and she took off running, and he sort of stood there for like 10 minutes staring at the sky thinking, what on earth just happened here? That I just gave in to this little child. So there was something in play there, principles in play that are quite profound. And that reminded me of some biblical principles of persisting. Keep on knocking and the door shall be opened. Seek and you shall find. Keep on that persisting attitude, and you will find. And that principle applies in so many areas of life. You've seen that. I've seen it. I mean, I'm a businessman myself. That persistent attitude is and that constantly seeking and that constantly persisting and that visualizing of what you want. This is what creates the recipe for success. This is the recipe for success. I don't know. Do you agree with that principle, that biblical principle? Just a little bit into the book. I'm super excited to get into the book a bit more and see what other principles that you can take. But that one stood out for me today. Is that being persistent. Keep on knocking; it shall be open to you. Just don't give up. Don't give up attitude. Works in everything in life. Works in your marriage. Works in raising children. I've had children. You've had children. Exactly like that. You got to have that persistent, consistent discipline. That consistent love. They love consistency and persistence. Like it applies in business. It applies in every aspect in life. You're obviously a little bit further on in the book. Is there anything else that you have come across?
Oh, absolutely. I've ordered a hard copy of the book, which is now on the way, because I too am listening to the audio, but there's just so many gems in there. Like I was talking about the concept of faith as explained in Think and Grow Rich is very similar to the way it's explained in the Bible as well. And you stole my thunder, because that was the principle that I hadn't mentioned in my lives that I was going to bring out: persistence. So it's a really good one. And persistence also doesn't mean that you're not going to fail. So like persisting is one thing, but if you're going to be stopped being persistent by failure, well then that's not real persistence. Because persistence is continuing to go even though it may appear that you've failed or you may have hit a hurdle in some way. And that's what Napoleon Hill was stressing in terms of persistence. Yeah, so...
And I mean, you look at most successful businessmen... Sorry, go on. Is there a bit of a delay with sound, is there?
You're right. Oh, there could be. He goes into American history as well a little bit, and some things that I didn't know about the formation of the United States and how that determination that you were talking about with that little girl, that's what those governors of the 13 colonies, I think it was, of the United States, or the 13 colonies of America got together and decided to rebel against the British. And all those governors risked, all the men involved in that decision were risking their lives. And they were more interested in that determination to get the United States independent than their own lives. That's how strongly they believed in it. So Napoleon Hill also talks a lot about belief. Belief being the basis, and he calls it faith too. So belief or faith that if you stick to this course, this is what's going to happen. So these guys who came up with the Declaration of Independence, they were so firm in their belief that they were willing to put their lives on the line to get that through. Another concept that I reckon Napoleon Hill came up with is the concept of the mastermind, where a mastermind is a group of people who get together with a common goal, and where someone might be deficient in one area, they might be able to get ideas from another person and vice versa. So I notice in our online business, they often talk about masterminds. So we might look at a presentation that's called a mastermind. So it's not one person, it's a group of people who have got together, and there's a lot of power in that. And that's also a biblical principle too. Because if you look at the Proverbs, it talks about there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors or something like that. So there's the mastermind principle there.
That's correct.
And there's examples of kings of Israel in the Bible who didn't take the advice of their mastermind, and it went badly for them. So there's good examples, bad examples, but the mastermind is a really interesting one for me. So you want to get together with the right people so that you can mastermind your ideas and be successful. That's a part of success. There's lots and lots of different principles to success, and that's why I want the book, because I want to be able to open it up and quickly reference it, because I've been actually listening to it while I've been working, and I'm thinking, that's a good point. I wish I could write that down.
Yeah.
And by the time I'm listening to it an hour later, I go, oh man, that's a good point. But what was that point I listened to an hour ago? So a lot of the stuff I have forgotten, but it's pretty much all gold.
Yeah,
Freddie.
that's what I sound like. I'm only a couple of hours into it, and I'm thinking, man, this is an inspirational book. It's just reminding me of a lot of stuff. Well, not that I forget it, because spirituality is a big part of my daily routine. I constantly feed my mind. They talk a lot about visualizing your goals materially, physically, where you want to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time, and keeping that real. So even the scriptures talk about keeping your eyes on the prize. Like, hey, Susie, thanks for Susie.
That's visualization.
That's visualization. A lot of our business talk is about visualizing your goals, what you want to achieve, and it's just like, that's a principle I've been raised with. Keeping your eyes on the prize, putting yourself in that future event, and making it so vivid right now that as if you're there, as if you've achieved that life of abundance, that life of happiness, that perfect partner. Why wait to feel those things when you can feel them right now using the power of visualizing? So your brain doesn't know the difference between something that's real or something that's vividly imagined. It's like you can create these scenarios and feel them and be so present in them that you can actually change your chemistry, your brain rewiring, to make it look like those future events have happened right now. That's what's interesting. I love studying the mind and how that works, and that even scientifically it ties in with the scriptures as well. It's got a lot of scientific stuff, but it does touch on anything scientific. It's very, very, very accurate. And I love how that
that's something
visualization
else
process
that
works.
Napoleon Hill. That's something else that Napoleon Hill speaks about in Think and Grow Rich, is the it's completely gone from my head now. We were talking at the same time, and I've completely forgotten my point. It'll come back to me. Keep talking.
Okay. Who else is hopped on? Rosemary. Hey, Rosemary, how you going? Can you see anyone who's hopped on your side? No, not really. Oh, that's cool.
No.
But yeah, I was just talking about how the mind works. It's super interesting. We've got a lot of a guy I listen to now that speaks about that is Joe Dispenza, amazing brain scientist and he talks about why wait to feel abundant? Why wait for you to have abundance to feel abundance? Why wait for that perfect relationship to feel that you feel that love and connection? Why wait to be in that future self when you can visualize and feel that right now, which creates in your mind the neural connections and in your physiology that you've already happened? Why wait to have health before you can feel health? You do those things. You do health.
Yeah.
You do abundance. It's just that mindset is amazing. And then being able to use your mind to create those emotional feelings and have power over your life, power over your happiness.
That thought's come back to me. Thoughts come back to me. Can I say it before I forget again?
Sorry.
There is a chapter in the book on autosuggestion, and he says that the only way to aid yourself in visualization is through strong affirmations.
Yes.
And by continuing the habit of affirmations, you get your brain thinking about that thought until it becomes real. And I thought that was a biblical principle as well, because the Bible speaks about thinking in a negative way. It says if you keep thinking about this, then this is going to happen. So if you keep thinking about the wrong thing, ultimately the wrong thing is going to materialize and happen.
Yeah.
That's another principle that is spoken of in the scriptures. So autosuggestion and thinking, the actual conscious act of making your mind visualize something, that's a biblical scripture principle as well.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Freddie?
Yeah, that's really cool, and it's true. Like it's just say you hold on to, like you're saying about thinking negatively. If you hang on to negative thoughts, are just complaining attitudes, whinging about somebody, talking, gossiping about somebody. They're all low vibe negative attitudes, and holding grudges and bitterness and anger, and it talks about those kind of emotions produce. It says they're a rottenness to the bone. They're not a rottenness to the bones. It causes your bones to rot. And when you look at the scientific side of it, that's exactly what it does. It creates this chemical reaction in your system. It releases all sorts of toxic chemicals that cause inflammation and sickness and illness, and it causes the heart to be sick. It even talks about, and it talks about the positive thoughts also can about having a positive effect on the physical body. So it's like it's profound wisdom.
Also limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs as well is something that is a type of autosuggestion, because I don't know if you've got to that section yet, but
no, I haven't.
Hill talks about people who say they always say they've got bad luck, so they have a belief about themselves, and they keep perpetuating that by saying it. Oh, I've got bad luck, so because they're in that mindset that I've got bad luck. It was like,
what is going on? There we are. The beautiful Tasmanian internet connection. Sorry about that.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
Sorry, guys. For whoever's whoever's
I don't know
watching, we
what's
got
going
cut
on
off
there.
there. Technical issues.
Well, let's
Sorry,
go
where
back to
were
what I
you?
was saying.
Yes.
What was I saying? Let me get rid of those. I was talking about limiting beliefs and
Yes.
people who always think they've got bad luck. And so they think they've got bad luck, so they do get bad luck. I've had bad experiences where I've had this belief that I'm useless with tools. I'm not a handyman, and I can't do anything along those lines. I always stuff up. I've got that belief so ingrained in me that I make it. I've even recently, made jokes to people about it. Like, yeah, I'm going to do that. All right, yeah, for sure. So I've got that belief so ingrained in me that I can't do things, and when I do try things, I usually fail. But recently, since doing this personal development over the last six months or so, I've let go of some of that. And you know what? I've done some handyman stuff, and I was able to do it. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. And I think, as Gandhi said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right in both instances. It's all got to do with mindset. It's all got to do with mindset. Like these. I mean, to me, the Bible is, I'll look at the, Jesus. He was the most. I mean, I love studying people that are the best in their field. Whatever it is they've mastered, I like to study the best, those that have achieved and mastered that field. And to me, I look at Jesus, for instance. He changed the course of mankind's history. He was the most influential man to walk this earth. And I look at something that there must be something in what he taught, how he lived, that I could learn from. So that's why I've embarked on this life of studying his life, studying his sayings, studying his teachings, studying the way he treated people and spoke with people and the way he taught. And there's profound wisdom in that. This guy's mastered the art of teaching. It's an amazing, influential person. So I've made it my life. I've dedicated my life into studying the fact that he's mastered everything. I believe, and I love studying all the current people that are mastering business, for instance, or finance, or mindset. It's I love learning new stuff, new information. So I'm always downloading. But I always go back to that basis of, okay, these are the basics, these are the originals. It's over 2,500-year-old history, wisdom, and people are using it now to create world change. So to me, I love delving back into that, using that as a basis, always number one, and just keep adding to that. But I'm sure, that's why I find interesting, these books that, about Napoleon, I was saying earlier, I think it was written in 1937, the book.
Yeah,
I think
37.
you were saying earlier, it was just in the depression stages, so people are looking for answers different ways, looking for something, looking for some sort of comfort, and there was so much opportunity. I think I got up to the point of the story of the gentleman, what's his name, the Ford guy. Henry Ford, that's it. He wanted to come up with the V8 motor, one single block with eight pistons, I think it is. And his engineer said, no, this is impossible. This is impossible. He had a vision in his mind.
V8.
He wanted the V8, and his engineers kept on telling him it was impossible. It can't be done. And so for 12 months they fiddled and mucked around and tried, but they didn't. And he had a vision. After 12 months, he's like, no, this is what you're going to keep on doing. His persistent, not giving up attitude, even though they've spent 12 months of failure. A lot of money went into that, a lot of energy and effort. Failure. But because of his mindset of consistency and failure, the more you fail, the more you learn. So
it's your internet connection, because I've changed mine to mobile from my Wi-Fi, and you're still cutting off. So.
Sorry, I'm on mobile connection, so I don't know what you're going on about. I should never be able to cut off. Anyway, technology, it's an amazing, amazing thing, but we keep on persisting. That's what we're just talking about. Because anyway, Henry Ford, amazing character who believed he can achieve what he envisioned. I mean, you think about anything these days, anything that's ever created, anything that's ever designed and created and being built started off with a thought. Somebody believed in it so much, they had a vision of what they wanted. I think it was the Wright brothers that came up with the flying, the first people to fly. If they had stopped and given up, where would we be now? Mr. Ford, where would Ford be now? Somebody else would have come up with that idea. Amazing, that persistent, that vision of what they want to achieve is possible. That not giving up attitude, that is so important. That's my message for today. That's why one of the main things I'm getting out of the Napoleon Hill is don't give up on your visions. Visualize, visualize, visualize. Create that right now. Don't give up on that belief that you can achieve your goals, your dreams, your passions. Because and fail. Doesn't matter how many times you fail, you pick yourself up and you keep on that persistence, that attitude. And this is the secret to success.
Wait till you get to Napoleon Hill's story. About 2/3 of the way through the book, they do a bit of a bio on him. His journey was one of failure many times before he became wealthy, which is what the book's about. But to me, like you said earlier in the other live, that this book is not just about material or monetary richness. You can use these principles in other areas of your life, and it does say that. But you think about the time that book was written, how important money was to people at the time, because people were so poor they could hardly survive. It's amazing that a book like this came out, and he's talking like you can manifest millions of dollars if you follow this, follow these principles, you can do that. And people like fair income. It's unreal. Yeah,
it sure is. Well, mate, I think we've taken up enough time of our viewers. We seem to have lost But no, it's awesome to be involved in a line of work where we can share content, share what we're learning, which I think is really important, and share our journey and the lessons we're getting, because I feel like so many people are looking for answers, so many people are looking for comfort, so many people are looking for some sort of connection, and through a conversation, through our sharing, hopefully we can help somebody. They might be this conversation might have triggered something in somebody that they might have been thinking for a while, but not ready to do anything, or just looking for something to push them, to help them connect to their dreams, to themselves. So hopefully this has done something like that for any of our viewers and watchers. I certainly enjoy your lives on the Napoleon Hill and the spiritual content of it, and the fact that it relates to ancient wisdom. I look at all these public speakers now, and they all say spirituality is one of the pillars of success. And even the scriptures say, happy is he that is conscious of his spiritual need.
It's the first thing Jesus said in that famous Sermon on the Mount. Spirituality, number one
basic thing,
important thing.
Basic.
And that's what all the motivational speakers are saying now. That spiritual connection is very important. And I was going to say, for anyone who is watching this, definitely recommend grabbing the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Absolutely fantastic, particularly if you've done other more recent personal development, read more recent personal development books. This is the pillar of 20th century personal development. The knowledge from that goes right back into certain psychological fields as well. Carl Jung is an influence. So that's the late 1800s. And but not only that, I would also recommend, because we're pointing out the principles from the Bible, have a look at the Bible, but not as a religious book. Look at it as a book of practical wisdom. If you can find those bits of practicality in there, it's very difficult because of what religion has done to separate the Bible. All the way through the live, your chair has sounded like a cat's being tortured underneath your bum there when it squeaks.
Sorry.
So I just had to get that in right at the end.
Sorry, mate.
So separate the Bible from what your concept of religion is and look at it as a book of practical wisdom. these dudes are getting these principles from the Bible, man.
Yeah, yeah. But I see it as a scientific book, as a very practical book to modern day living. Yeah, to me, it has answers on finances. Um, it says a lot of the concept we heard in this, you hear is, money's the root of all evil. The scriptures don't say that. It actually says the love of money is the root. So the love of money. So in chasing it is like chasing after the wind, it also says. So you chase something, it normally flees from you. And the loving something, loving money is the danger there, because if you love something so much, it can be a destructive thing. So you can, and it also says money is a protection. So it has a very wise view on money. So I had a screwed up view on money. My money story from childhood was very screwed up. That's why I don't have any of it at the moment. But
No, well, there's another principle that I just thought of, and that is to count the cost. Napoleon Hill talks
yes,
a lot about organization, about structure, about writing things down, about having systems. This is all part of that biblical principle: count the cost
before
before
you
you do
start the
things.
project. Yeah,
So a lot of people don't do that. They'll go in full blazes without counting the cost, and that's a principle that's very important. It's one of the principles
yeah,
for success.
yeah, definitely. Counting the cost. Count the cost before you start building that tower. Because you're going to look like a fool if you get there and you've run out of money and your neighbors are looking at it thinking, oh, what's going on here? But anyway, yeah, timely
You're
advice,
a builder.
guys.
You're a builder. What does that feel like?
It's very, very practical, because if you don't count the costs, you're building someone's home and you don't count the cost properly, you end up looking like a fool. You end up financially suffering. Your family suffers. So that principle of paying attention to detail, understanding money, respecting money, viewing it as a protection, something to use wisely, efficiently, and using it as a tool to create success in your life, a reasonable amount of protection as well. Like it says, money is a protection. So using it wisely. So it has very practical steps. Talks about not gambling and overeating and over drinking. This is stuff that, or the smoking, and looking after, cherishing your body. This is something sacred, because these things cost a lot of money. They can send you broke. These are habits that are destructive. So to me, it's very, very practical book for modern day living. So I turn to that a lot for answers in my life. I think it's a very, very practical, scientific, very practical, timely advice for me to turn to. And I also add these other little books as secondary bits of information. So super important for me.
Sweet.
Cool, mate. It was been such a pleasure talking to you. Hey, Kelly, thanks for hopping on. We've had a few technical issues. We've lost some of our previous viewers, I think.
I love the way she jumps on right at the very, very end.
No, that's all good, mate. Thank you very much for jumping on, guys. Send us some love, send us some likes. Don't send us some dislikes. You can send them to Dwayne if you like. But yeah, let
I'm
us know
used
where
to it.
you.
I always get them.
Oh, don't have that mindset. We're just talking about that wrong mindset, boy. So thanks again for watching, guys. Let us know where you're from. Replay. We'll answer any of your questions. Anything that you've been inspired by, hopefully, let us know. We can get back to you, either me or Dwayne. So thank you so much again, Dwayne. Looking forward to future lives. Some very interesting conversations coming up. Going to
Absolutely.
be connecting with some really cool people. Hopefully, we can get you involved and get something happening for the men in our business, in our online space, which will be really cool. Looking forward to that. So
Love it.
thanks again, my friend. Until next time, and thank you to all our viewers. Have an amazing weekend. We're doing some lives tomorrow, so going to be connecting with Dwayne on the weekend. I think we're going to Symphony Under the Stars. It's going to be a beautiful event. They held here in Tasmania every 12 months, and it's
I can confirm I'm
music.
definitely going.
Oh, you beauty. We'll see you. I had a phone call in the middle of that. Sorry about that. See you tomorrow, guys. Thank you so much. Goodbye for the last time.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dwayne.